So we are going to start the lecture loom on 18th century culture. We're looking at privilege and reason. Please make sure you write down these ideas. I would put this on the top of this power map. We're going to be talking about the privileges of the nobility and the use of reason by the philosophes and bourgeois. And then as we look at that, I want you to be thinking that through that lens. This might be a little bit more full of the lecture than we gave in class today. Let's go ahead and get started. So what we see the art of the Enlightenment, which is from 1715 to the 1800. We have Rococo art, and here we see a Rococo piece that has a lot of looseness and nature and just some really weird things going on. But again, it's really about the playfulness of the nobility. And on this side, we have the seriousness of the late Enlightenment. And this is a David piece, Louis the Fourth, Napoleon storming the Alps. A really good piece. We're going to see more about that. Take a second to pause and look at the differences between these pieces. There are clear differences. I'll let you ponder those. So let's go and look at the art of the early Enlightenment. And as art historians do say, 1700 to 1750, it does reflect the values of the nobles. And I talked about this is the artistic style of the aristocratic resurgence. The artistic style of the aristocratic resurgence. Really important that you write that down, aristocratic resurgence. It really begins after the death of Louis XIV, where the nobles are attempting to reclaim their lost liberties. And the Rococo art demonstrates that. We have Jean Hornet's front of guards, the swing. And I love this piece. I just see nobles. You see this woman here who is living carefree, enjoying the swing. She has a servant or maybe a fiance who is helping her swing. But then you have her lover here who is catching a glimpse at what he kind of wants. We did talk about this in class about how this piece of art is used in the movie Frozen. And I did say there's a lot of sexuality here. And this right there with her kicking off her shoes does represent the losing of virginity. So the swing here is talking about the looseness of the morals of the nobility. It's about the playfulness. And it's really about how this property, this land is used for their own pleasure. Now, here we see Watteau. Watteau is the greatest artist of the era, and as the greatest artist of the Rococo artist of the era, we see some cool stuff here. Look at this piece. I love the looseness. Look at over here and over here. The lines are not as definitive. The focus begins to become a little bit blurred. I hope you see that. And as we kind of maneuver on, we see that it reflected the playfulness. And the playfulness is the nobilities enjoying their life here. And this is a book called Return from Cythera. And again, I love what Dr. Spivogel says here. He reads, and I'm going to read straight from the caption. Watteau was one of the most gifted painters of the 18th century France. His portrayal of artistic life reveals a world of elegance, wealth, and pleasure. In this painting, which is considered his masterpiece, Watteau depicts a group of aristocratic lovers about to depart from the island Cythera, where they have paid homage to Venus, the goddess of love. So again, a very sexual piece here. Luxuriously dressed, they move from the woodlands to a golden barge that is waiting to take them from their island. So with this whole piece here, it's really about them returning from really a moment where they're just having sex. And again, it's about privilege. It's about the nobility, their carefree lifestyle. And I love this question I posed a couple years ago. How would a physiocrat view this? And remember, the physiocrats, they're the French economists that we've looked at. They would see untapped resources. Say they see lumber, they see resources. And really, Rococo art is the quintessential thing in which the physiocrats oppose. Here we see architecture by Newman, and I love Newman's Rococo architecture. If you ever get a chance to experience this kind of things in Europe, definitely go. There's some wonderful pieces or places that he built, and when we see here, it's about grandiose, and really the word grandiose just means being large for the sake of being large. When we look at this piece is a little bit building, but it's similar to that in which the textbook talks about the version, which is that V word, and you guys look at that. It's about a pilgrimage. Very large. It's sometimes it's called the Church of the 14 Saints, but this is the piece that was done for a noble. This one right here, and I love this part up here. We see it's ornate. We see pastels. We see a lot of airiness. This building is really just oversized. And that's Rococo. So Rococo is really this artistic style of the nobility. It's about the carefree nature, and it's really about the grandiose nature of the estate system and how the nobles were living off their privilege. Where Neoclassicism is a stark contrast. In many ways, it's a reaction to the Rococo style. It reflected the seriousness of the late Enlightenment. It's a chief media, and I want to make sure you understand all this neoclassical art is public art. It's meant to be propaganda to encourage the lower classes to learn virtue. Very important aspect there. The virtues include patriotism, reason, and liberty, of course. This piece is called The Oath of Aratai by David. And I'm going to read from the book here. It says the Frenchman David was one of the most famous neoclassic artists of the late 18th century. To immerse himself in the world of classical antiquity, he painted the Oath of Aratai in Rome. Thanks to its emphasis on patriotic duty, the work became an instant hit in both Paris and Rome. And this piece right here, this is about a father having the boys take an oath, his sons take an oath. He's giving them the weapons here. Does everybody see the weapons here to defend their homeland? And I want to point out that there's a really bad thing going on. They're being invaded. The barbarians are coming in, and these guys are going to go and die. But they're taking an oath. They're taking an oath before their father, proclaiming their willingness to sacrifice their. But again, we do see the sexism of the age that we've talked about, because here we have the emotional women. Here we see the rational men, patriotic men, taking an oath, the power of the oath. I'm willing to die for my word. And then the women are emotional basket cases. That is the kind of a message that is being sent there. I do love this piece as well, David's Death of Socrates. In class, I did talk about this piece. I love, once again, the center of the piece is an object. This object is the hemlock that the great teacher Socrates has been convicted by a jury of his peers that he must be executed for his teachings. Despite the idea that the guards have left the door available, he can leave. But Socrates tells them that the virtue, this is virtue. He is called to die. So therefore, he has to fulfill that virtue. Powerful piece. And again, we're just going to highlight there. I just hope you kind of understand that there's a difference between Rococo art and Neoclassical. And I'm going to pause it here. I'm hoping, let's get that real quick.